Hello, my time crunch teachers, and welcome to the show. This is your team teacher, Mariel Desrosier, here to help you optimize your teaching, technology, and time management. And with me today is third grade teacher, Stephanie Hedgpeth-Lopez.
Hello.
I love how I say with me today, like it's like you're never here, like you're always
just
here.
Today.
Just today.
In fact, the electricity went out and part of me had to come over because I just made pumpkin bread and I couldn't put it in the oven.
Yes, with me today to finish her baking. Stephanie. I mean, I guess sometimes I do episodes by myself, but it's not like every week I have somebody different. It's me and you.
Yeah.
Okay. Guess what? Co-teachers, have we got a surprise for you? So in an effort to share more about our day-to-day teaching experiences, Stephanie and I decided to start a new segment called Grading the Week, where we basically just share how the week went.
Random things that happen.
And we are currently recording this mid-December, and it's the weekend, and we're about to roll into our last week before winter break.
5 days.
Stephanie probably knows the hours and the minutes before we go to winter break. And our winter break is 3 full weeks plus, we have to go that Monday, but the kids don't, right? Don't we
Right.
Okay. So basically 3 whole weeks, and then we have 1 teacher training day, and then the kids come back. And the reason why it's so long is because we have a lot of migrant farm worker families, and many of them travel to Southern California or to Mexico or other countries to continue their work cycle. And in order for the students not to be missing schools or having to go to different schools, our district, I feel like our whole lives, I remember being a kid and it being at least 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
I kind of think it used to be more work, but now it's just like, they'll go there for family and basically religious reading, right? And then they won't come back for a while because it's expensive to go. And so they go for an extended time.
Right. It's not always because of work or ag work.
Right.
But I know originally when we were children, it started because of that. And I think the trade-off is we start slightly earlier than some other schools because we start the students show up mid-August-ish.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth it. Anyways, before we launch into our tales and trials of this last week, and then we could actually even chat about what's coming up, what grade would you give this week for yourself, Stephanie?
For myself?
Well, no, not like you, like grading.
Experience?
Yes, the experience.
Like a B minus.
And if it was standards-based grading? No, kidding.
Okay, maybe
I'm kidding. B minus.
A 3 minus. I don't know. 3 with a S.
Would you say that you are continuously making progress towards the grade level standard? Or inconsistently making progress?
Actually, maybe it's a little inconsistently, although there were some little spots that I was like, hey, we did something. Yay.
I'm going to be like a real teacher and just give a grade for the week with zero context or explanation. Just write the grade on the top in red, and that's what the week was. Yeah. And you don't get to know. No. What did you say? B minus? I actually think I think we're B plus, A minus. My 5th graders did really well, energetically, really well. Me personally felt a little meh, which we'll talk about with the state testing, but the kids themselves, they did great.
There was some improvement that went on.
Oh, that's nice. Progressing towards meeting the standard.
Very slow, but their improvement.
Awesome. We got to start this week, we meaning the entire school district, with state testing.
Well, it's the district progress monitoring testing. Oh. I guess it is state. Is it? Because it's not the actual from the state.
Okay. It's the district progress monitoring standardized testing. The NWEA MAP, reading and math testing, which takes them a very long time.
Or not.
Oh, yes.
Because they just went, I'm done. You're like.
So the MAP testing is one of the state tests. First of all, it's all online. And I have to say that because as a child, ours was not online. It was filling in bubbles.
Right. I found that soothing, filling in those
on the little Scantron. We learned in high school or college that the Scantron, filling out the bubbles, every Scantron had a bubble where you fill in the key. And the teacher is supposed to push that one through the machine, and then that's the key. And then any one that comes after it is graded off of that. And so not me, but somebody I knew tried that once. Like, I'm going to fill out the key. And then their answers is the key, and they got 100%. And they didn't get caught for a little while.
Oh, my.
But yeah, for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, you are actually going to have to Google this because you're not going to have any clue. But for those of you in our age bracket, yeah, you'll know those bubbles. Anywho, the state testing, they don't do the bubbles. It's all online where they get to see the questions. And it's challenging for the students. Even just the format is wacky. It's not multiple choice, like necessarily A, B, C, D. Sometimes they're filling in blanks. Sometimes they're matching things. Sometimes they're clicking on things.
The two, or
right,
the one that's the most or the least, or just choose the one that does not fit.
Right. But I will say, because it is online, the test modulates, meaning if the test is showing that the kid, it's too easy for the kid, it'll start asking them harder questions. Or the other way, it can actually tell if they're rapid guessing.
They get sloth.
Yes. And then they get those little sloth that pops up with the slow down. Yeah, it's a slow down. And then their test comes to a grinding halt, and you have to put in this special pin so they can keep going. But yes, if they're rapid guessing, it'll also change it so they start to get questions that are a little bit more in their understanding level theoretically. But it's and I'm assuming you do this too, I give the students breaks in the test, but if we didn't give them breaks, theoretically, isn't it supposed to take them, I don't know, 45 minutes or an hour at least?
Because you have those kids that will take forever because they're staring at it, or they take forever because they're actually concerned and worried about it. Or the kids that just kind of take it at the right pace. There's always one or two of those. And I think that takes between 30 and 60 minutes.
Okay.
If they're just kind of, I'm thinking about it and I can do it. Because this one kid got done with the math test and nobody else did. But I looked at his score and it wasn't like...
It was like, okay.
Crazy. It was okay. I think he could have done better, but it wasn't like crazy. And that was only about 25 minutes.
Yeah, so kids can do it pretty efficiently. The reading one always takes longer. That one's definitely
especially
a whole hour.
If they're a good reader, because there's a lot more to read.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I remember my poor son in second grade. He was, or still is, a strong reader. And so, the grade level questions were like the second graders were reading maybe a little paragraph. But for him and a couple of his other little people in the class that were, strong readers, it started to give them pages that they were reading, and it took him so long to take that test. And then him and the other little kids were I felt so bad. They were getting frustrated, and they were like, how come everyone else is done and I'm still reading this story? Yeah. Yes. So that's why it's very taxing for the children. So we like to give them breaks. We like to, I either eliminate homework for the week or minimize it. This week, before they started testing, I actually made a video on this where I used dry erase, kind of like contact or wallpaper, but I covered my group tables with it. So every group table is a dry erase surface and the students can collaborate together. I finally finished covering all of my tables. So one day before testing, I just put a bunch of pictures on the TV of woodland creatures, like cute little woodland creatures. And I said, okay, everybody on your tables make a cute little woodland forest. And so they covered the tables with like little mushrooms and pine cones and squirrels and trees and rabbits. And I put on soft music and they just sat there and drew.
Oh, that's nice.
I know, it was such a nice little ease into state testing. And they loved it so much that we just started every day that way. I was like, okay. And they picked a theme to draw. Cool. Like the next day a kid asked, can we pick the theme? And I said, yes. And he picked space, celestial thing. Like some kids drew planets, some drew astronauts, some drew stars.
Among Us.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So that's how they eased into testing.
Well, I found with this particular class, they always say, you should start testing like first thing in the morning when they're fresh. Mm-hmm. I've decided that is not how we're doing it this year.
Oh.
Because there's a few kids that come in extremely talkative.
Yeah.
Or they're just out of sorts. I have a couple kids who are just perpetually tardy.
Mm-hmm. Or they're tired.
Yes.
Like they haven't fully woken up.
And they're this time of year, everybody's schedule's off. That's dark. so early, so they might fall asleep early, but they wake up, they're just, some medication hasn't kicked in and they're just not ready. And so I did part of this one test, like at the time I thought it should, like 8:30 or something. And the next day I decided to do it after recess. And it's
way better.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And then the other one, because I did them in there's little parts. I didn't have time because of a scheduled fire drill. I'm like, great, now I can't do it when I was going to do it. I had them go out in the fire lane because it's right outside, not very far from our door. And I'm like, okay, everybody do this many jumping jacks. Okay, everybody, run in place. Instead, they were like tore off up and down the fire lane and they were just running. Like, can we run again? Yeah. And they just ran and they got a lot of energy out just running. Okay, do some wall push-ups because there was a wall and we just did push-ups on the wall. Okay, do this, do that. Do windmills on your hands. Like for 5 minutes. And they came in just a little jazzed, but their settle down time was just so much quicker.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so they got all the wiggles out and got to have fun.
I think you also have to look, if you might have to test at a certain time based on so many reasons. Mm-hmm. But if you're able, you might want to really look at your class and when is the best time.
Right. And
it might not be the theoretical first thing in the morning.
That's a good point. And do they need wiggle time or do they need zone out time like my crew drawing on the tables? Or a mix of both, or do they need to ease into their day a little bit? Or do they need to some classes need to be fresh, right? Like they came in, they did their little morning routine, and that's when they're the most attentive. I found older kids are kind of more in that space. Then maybe that works. But yeah, you got to know your group. Speaking of fire drills, the day the fire drill was scheduled, we were all panicking because it was raining.
Yeah, it's like, great. And some of us have to traipse through the field.
Yeah, so we're like, well, that's cool. Then we deal with the wet feet for the rest of the day.
Yeah, and I wore the wrong shoes. I figured I saw the email before and I grabbed some shoes I had in the car so I could switch my shoes from my suede shoes to some I didn't care about.
Right. So dress accordingly on planned fire drill days if you have to cross a
But it's also included a lockdown.
A shelter in place.
Shelter in place, not a lockdown.
Yeah, that's true. So we had multiple drills.
Which, for some reason, a bunch of my kids dove under the table. I'm like...
Because they're used to the earthquake drill.
And it's like, no, listen.
Right. So we live in California, and so the children do earthquake drills, kind of like, maybe people in the Midwest do tornado drills or other disaster-y type drills. And yes, and so normally the way we practice it is an earthquake drill first, where they tuck and cover under their desks. And then we do a fire drill because they have to exit the classroom. And so Stephanie and I were just laughing that the children were so accustomed to that it was a shelter-in-place drill, which is just close the doors and whatever. And instead they went under their tables.
Well, and also, in an admin's attempt to not disrupt the same thing every time we have a drill, they moved the time, which interrupted other things.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. So what Stephanie's explaining is, say every whatever, Wednesday at 8:30, you have prep because the children go to art. And if they only schedule fire drills Wednesday at 8:30, you kind of sort of lose your prep because you need to exit the building with everybody else, or you need to hand off your whatever to whoever has the kids. And so, yes, if admin are being kind, they will move around when those drills are so the same people, the same classes aren't affected. Or, we have, like our special day classes where they have to put the kids in, what am I trying to say? Like wagons, or they have to move them. And so, that takes a minute. That takes a while. Or
find everybody's noise canceling headphones.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And so that transition time, that's why if they're being nice, an administrator won't schedule it right at 8:00 or right at 8:05 or whenever you start, because you haven't even taken roll and sort of settled with the kids. But yes, so we changed it and did interrupt some other totally different thing for
Was it at the end of upper grade recess?
Yeah. We were already outside.
Where did you shelter in place?
The cafeteria.
So you all got to go in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
That must have been fun.
That was rad, actually, because you start to learn. This is why my students themselves get an A. They were so on it. They were quiet. They were, they went and sat where they were supposed to sit. They listened to directions. It was just like a cacophony of sound. It was so loud in there from all the chitter chatter and the kids all excited. I was shocked they could actually even hear me, calling roll until the other kids got settled. And no, they did great. They did fantastic. They were on it. Kind of like when we went to the symphony and only mine and Leanna students got, okay. So to talk about training for fire drills. So there was this field trip where we basically went to a local performing arts center, and it was like a local symphony or something was like performing. Right. And so many of the public school fifth graders went.
It was at the high school.
Oh, yes, that's right. It was at the high school performing arts center. So we got to go and listen to the local symphony. It was great. You know, our music teachers brought them and we went. And in the middle of the performance at the high school, a fire alarm got tripped. And it's in the middle of the performance. You know, we're at a high school. And as a teacher, you know, sometimes this happens and kids are goofing around. But I don't know that. Like, there hasn't been an announcement over the thing that says, like, everybody be calm. That was just some kid or like whatever. So the fire alarm goes. Nobody in the orchestra stops. Nobody. They just keep, the band played on. Okay. They just kept playing. And Leanna and I, the other fifth grade teacher, we look at each other. And I'm not talking like a minute in. We look at each other 3 seconds after the alarm goes off. Because we're like, oh, fire alarm. We look at each other. The kids immediately all look at us. We are literally the only two teachers in an auditorium full of teachers and children who stand up and have our kids start exiting. The orchestra is still playing. Okay. The alarm is still going. No announcement has been made. And there are hundreds of people and nobody moved. So perhaps they were that committed to listening to classical music.
I guess.
Or they just assumed it was benign, which I don't do when I hear fire. And Leanna and I were so proud of our fifth graders that we like totally rewarded them. We congratulate, like they got some like special extra something when we got back from the field trip. So anyways, point being, back to this last week's drill, new fifth graders, fine, but they follow the rules. They knew what to do. And so I'm very, very proud of them for doing that. So they did great, because then after the shelter in place, we had to go outside for the lining up of the fire drill thing, but
in the mud, through the mud.
And it was also the day we decided as a buddy class to hang out. So we had to move everything around for that too. That was fun. It
was. It also made the day go super really fast. Fun. The kids are like, we have to go home now, because we also have Fun Friday. Because now that we can no longer legally take away recess, I've now have Fun Fridays, so I have something to take away, which sounds horrible.
Hey,
but there's
everybody,
nothing to hold over your head.
We're going to start Fun Friday. That's awesome. Yeah, because it's the one thing I can take away from you. No, but it's true. It's a reward.
Yes.
They earn Fun Friday. Yes. How about that way?
And I do also, it's a non-technology one.
Oh, perfect.
And so I have some Legos that the librarian's friends all donated a bunch of Legos.
Nice.
Because my children aren't going to give away their Legos, 20-somethings that they are. Anyway, and so I have a bucket of Legos, which, by the way, you put out a big giant sheet or something. They play with the Legos on it. So when it's time to clean up, you just gather the sheet and dump it.
Genius.
I don't know where my brain was that I hadn't done that before.
No, that is so smart. Something else interesting happened this week in my life. I was meeting with our reading coach, and we were sitting at my little table that's right by the window, and you could see passerbys. And all of a sudden, our administrators were walking by and just quietly closing the doors. Nothing alarming. Like, they were just closing them, because we had them open for whatever, fresh air or I don't know what. And they were just quietly closing them. And I was like, wonder what that's about. And then all of a sudden I saw a child run by. And we will define this as an eloper, which I use that term all the time after when did we learn that term? Like 3 years ago?
I've never heard of it. Yeah, like 3 years ago. I'm like, what do you mean eloper? And I'm like, they're getting married. And I didn't understand. And now it's like part of our vocabulary.
So I swear you and I were together when the person said that term in front of us.
Yes.
Because they're like, so-and-so, like such and such student is an eloper. And okay, you have to keep in mind, Stephanie and I teach at a K through 5. And so I think it was me. I was like, somebody got married. I know how stupid that sounds. But the only time I had heard of people eloping is because of marriage. And we did not believe that this person's like, no, an eloper is somebody. I bet you all the SPED teachers are laughing at us because I feel like the SPED teachers know this term. So an eloper is a child that basically just runs out of your class or runs off campus is another thing. Is it's to like escape. And so I actually looked up the term because I did not believe them. And I'm looking at it right now. And it says an eloper is a person who runs away secretly. And it can be with, a lover or a partner, usually to get married without parental consent. Okay, so that's where part of the term is. But the other definition, just to elope, just means to escape. Anyways, point being, a child who is an eloper is a kid that just runs out of the classroom, basically escapes the classroom. And the only reason why we're sort of laughing about it is because in some cases it can be dangerous. Like you don't want the kid running into traffic or you don't want them running off campus. But this particular friend, it's not a danger thing. It's he just doesn't want to be in the classroom thing, or he just wants to play that game that if you ever take your dog off leash and they run just out of reach, like you're calling at them and they come just a thing. I think he was playing that game. So I'm sitting at the table in my classroom meeting with our reading coach, and the doors are being closed. And then after the administrator kind of walks out of view, I see this eloper run faster than I've ever seen a child run in my entire life and try every single door handle that I can see.
My door.
Yes. And I don't say this to make fun of the kid, but this is really what it looked like. It looked like that movie trope where somebody is whatever, like a bank robber or like running away from like a zombie or something. And they're running through a mall or running through
trying all the doors.
Yeah, trying all the doors. And that's what the kid was doing. And we know this situation. So we know this child is not in danger. This child is not experiencing something extreme. They're just trying to find a class to actually hide in so that they don't have to be escorted back to their actual classroom. They were trying to escape. And it like made me stop mid-sentence because I'm seeing this. And then not, 3 seconds later, I see adults come trying to find this child. And it's this it was like a little play right outside my window. I'm watching it. Although I will say, if you yourself have an eloper, I'm knocking on wood. I've never had a kid who was an eloper. I've had ones in classrooms near me, but me personally, I've had other issues.
I have one.
But not the kid that just bailed. And other teachers, like the special ed teachers or the special day class teachers, is like, oh, you just put a bell on your door. And I'm like, oh, that's genius.
Well,
like, then when it's open and a kid just...
I have a child that kind of does that, but it's more like he really needs to move.
Yeah.
So he has a zone outside my door.
That he's allowed to go to.
I keep my door open.
While you teach?
While I teach, because there's children in there. I like fresh air. And
and if they're coming in and out to go to the bathroom.
There's a pavement, like rectangle, like where the little...
His special area.
That's his zone.
That's
so
great.
When he walks around, I'm like, you need to go to your zone. Like, if you're going to walk around and talk, go out there. And he actually has been pretty good about it. And so I've actually seen him go, like, walk in circles out there.
That's awesome. But he's not one to take off, is he? Or sometimes?
Used to.
Oh, well, but now he has a special spot.
But now that he knows that he can leave, and I can see where he is from the window or the door, it's much better. Like, and that was also beginning of the year, figuring out who I was and he was and all that stuff. And
well, here's where I'm going to admit that I was either naive to this, or maybe it's because most of my career's in middle school. I kind of understand the elopers when they're little, like kinder and whatever, because they're just kind of understanding routine and where they can go and not go. Or if a student, comes from like a trauma-based background or has other maybe like social emotional issues going on, and like fleeing to them as their response. I guess what I'm asking is, you've taught longer than I have. Is this something that is more...
Oh, it's totally an epidemic. I don't know where it came from.
I'm like, is this a new thing? I guess is what I'm asking.
No, I mean, there was like this random kid every once in a while, just like some of the behaviors you see. Like before, you'd hardly ever have a kid that you're like, wow, I wonder if they need medication, right?
Oh,
usually that was manageable or something, but it's just like, I don't know what is happening. I don't know if there's something in our water system in the city. I don't know what it is, but there's just a lot.
Yeah, and when you read all the teacher message boards or like this, it's behaviors.
It's this weird thing going on.
Well, and it's systemic, it's like my current 5th graders had first grade online. That's why they love coloring and communal games and all the stuff that they missed out on first grade. The current fourth graders had
when
kinder
I had
online.
Those kids, they all brought stuffed animals to school all the time.
Oh yeah, they wanted little lovey, squishy, whatever things. Yeah, and so there's that. There's them coming from socioeconomically disadvantaged households and poverty and everything that goes with it.
Because my bunch right now, they would have missed preschool, which they would have necessarily gone to preschool. But I'm thinking they missed out on opportunities to socialize with other children.
Right. And then when they came back to school in kinder, we're all separated. So like your current third graders would have had kinder, not online, but remember when we first came back and they all had to have those like desks that were separated from each other with the little clear plastic blocker. Like they didn't get the kinder interaction games, sit on the floor, circle time thing. Everyone was in their little spot.
Isn't that last year's group too?
Probably. Because
they were just touching each other all the time.
I know they wanted to be in each other's spaces.
Yeah.
They wanted to be near each other.
They don't have any personal bubbles.
Yeah, exactly. Because they were forced into personal bubbles.
They were forced, and now they want to experiment.
School. Yeah. I guess the specifically the elopers felt new to me, but again, it's because I worked in middle school. Okay.
It's new.
Yeah, it freaks me out. As a teacher, like it freaks me out because...
Well, because there would be one, like at school, and you would know about that one.
Oh, you mean like one total?
Yeah, like one total, and it'd be randomly. But now it's like, I can name there's at least 4
like a handful
at our school, and And
I also think too, like this is different, but it's the idea of like a child being outside of your classroom. I'm one of those teachers who rarely, I'm not going to say never, but rarely will send a kid outside of my classroom to just like wait outside. I don't mean like let them walk around in the little square thing.
More as like
a punishment. Like go stand outside. Unless I'm following them because we're gonna have a conversation. Like, hey, let's go outside and have a conversation, whatever. But the like, hey, just like I feel like this was something that was done frequently when I first started teaching. It was like, oh, you send them outside and they wait, and then they come back in when you say they can come back. And I full on tell students like, I don't send you outside because I will forget.
I totally will.
I will forget you are out there.
I send them to another room, and I'm like.
The few handful of times where I've like sent a kid outside, I can't even remember the last time or why I did it. I was like, I'm sending you outside. You need to pop your head back in this classroom when it feels like it's been 2 minutes. Okay. It doesn't have to be 2 minutes exactly. When it feels like it's been 2 minutes, because I do not want to forget that you are out there.
Well, that's why we now have buddy classes we're supposed to send.
Oh, that's true. We can send them.
The office is overwhelmed. Don't send them there.
Yeah.
We have a buddy class to send to. And that's generally what I do when they've reached that threshold. Mm-hmm. It's usually when I need a break from them. Like, you need to leave for a few minutes so that we can all
Which is why in our Hall Pass episode, we talk about the errand pass. You send them on a little errand with a little sealed note that's like, oh, here, go deliver this to Mr. Desrosier. Then I open it up. I'm like, oh, Miss Hedgpeth-Lopez needs a little break from this friend.
She also there's a couple assigned people that she knows when they show up. Usually with a reflection piece of paper or something.
There are, as we call them, our frequent flyers. Yes. And they come to me. And I know them.
So as far as the week goes, I kind of feel like we need to add last week.
Oh, okay.
Because...
Because it was such a bizarre
finally
alert.
Some district person had to come in, was supposed to come in and observe this kid. They finally show up. For like
assessment or something.
Yeah. Okay. And the thing is, the kid, since that time, like, has spent 2 months doing this and then changed. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, you got here now. And then on this day, at a time when they're not a problem. Anyway, they were in there.
Oh, the child was not exhibiting the behavior you have been witnessing.
Like, I would like you to see that. Correct. Yeah, no, okay. Of course not. The behavior person will always happen.
Of course.
Anyway, there was an alarm on our phone that went off. It was a tsunami warning.
We should clarify. While we are a coastal-ish town, okay, we are not in an area that is what I would consider prone to tsunamis. Our actual physical school is so far above sea level that
we're on like a little hill.
Yes, that and again, I think the children picture tsunamis like this big wave, like a single wave of water that's 100 feet in the air, like some movie. When really a tsunami is that huge push of water.
But they also don't necessarily know what it is.
Okay, true, and they don't know what it is. I feel like it's a National Weather Service alarm. Like it's not like a local thing. Like I think other people.
It just went blip, blip, like really loud. And there was the other person in there, so her phone went off because I have third graders and a couple of them have phones in their backpacks or something, but it hasn't been an issue at all in this. So like it went on really loud where the kids are like, what what's that? And it was one of those times where like, oh, we're getting into our learning and so-and-so's listening. It was like, oh, so beautiful. Like, oh, we're going to know
And it doesn't matter if your phone's on silent or whatever. No. It'll go off. Similar to if people are listening from areas that have the tornado warnings. Yeah. It's like that. It's like that National Weather Service. This is an emergency blaring alarm. So it also... I don't know if it's the same tone because I don't know if I'm remembering it right, but to me, it has the same alert as like an Amber Alert where like all the phones go off. And yes, but it sounds panicky. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, because it gets like, oh my gosh, someone got stolen. And I go, and it was so loud, I went and looked, and the other person like is looking like, okay, it's a tsunami. We're like, oh my gosh, it's a tsunami. What's a tsunami? You know, what's, and I go, there was an earthquake. It's an earthquake. No, there was an earthquake.
Northern California.
Several hundred miles away. Mm-hmm. And this is just a warning for our Bay Area. So yeah. It became a teachable moment where we brought the map of California. We looked where we were. We looked where the earthquake was. We looked for the fact that we're a little on an inlet bay and that the tsunami would probably not come to our thing. You know, we just went off. And then meanwhile, the other teacher in the room was like looking up going, okay, guys, it's up north. It's not going to hit it. Like
right. She's looking at the area.
Right. And then I think you texted everybody like, okay, I looked it up because you were on.
I was on grade level planning.
Yeah. So you had the time to like look it all up in a room, not calming children down and letting us know. And then finally an announcement came on. But basically teaching went out the window completely. Right. Mm-hmm. I could not get their attention again.
It's like when a bee flies in your classroom and then you spend 15 minutes trying to chase the bee while children are screaming and getting in the way of you trapping this.
And then there's always that one kid, don't kill it. Yes. And then there's the kid that's like, trying to kill it.
Yeah. Yes. Like a shoe has come off and the kid's about to kill it and the other one's trying to prevent the killing. And then you're like trying to find a cup to trap it.
No, what you do
and all of a sudden there's no cups anywhere.
Is you turn out all the lights inside and open your door.
And they fly out.
And generally they will fly out.
Right. And then you have to listen to bee stories for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah. And then we have to explain. There is a difference between a bee and a wasp. Mm-hmm. At our school, we unfortunately have wasps. Mm-hmm. We rarely have a bee that has come into a room. They don't have nothing to do with you. Mm-hmm. But the wasp does. And so we have this discussion.
Yeah. And then there goes 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was like an hour for the tsunami.
Oh, it was forever. And then they were just so amped up. I played some
calming.
No, it wasn't calming because they needed an energy release. It was Scratch Garden. Was it the Flores? No, Dance Freeze, right? So they dance and freeze, right? And the last one is a little more calming. So they did that, and then I finally got them to do something. And then it was time for recess.
Oh, what a wonderful teaching day. No, they learned geography. My students...
Yes, we did learn a little bit about geography of California.
I was on a grade level planning thing, so there was a sub in my class, and she is a veteran teacher of our district, and you worked with her way back when, and she did great. She kept them, whatever. She's a veteran teacher. She knew what to do. So they were all calm and awesome, and got to see the pull-down map of California. I love the pull-down map. The kids do too, because they don't get to see physical maps anymore. Yeah, and so they love it. To have the map.
I have one on a skirt hanger, which, by the way, you can put posters on skirt hangers or pants hangers. Just clip them on. Oh. And then if you have one of those super magnetic hooks, if you have magnets on your whiteboard in the front of the room, you can just hang it on there.
Oh, nice. So you can move them around. Yes. That's clever. And then you could store them like that, like a bunch of them on the skirt or pants hangers and have them all.
You can also get those little over the door things and put them on your cupboard doors and hang them from there. I have one on the side of something. I hang it off, or I have a chart
That's
stand
clever.
I hang them on.
Because I don't like the freestanding chart stand. It's in the way. Not everybody can see it. It topples over all the time. So yeah, I like this. See, we're helpful.
Yes.
I'm gonna make that. We have one more week of school. I'm so excited.
Yeah, but you know what's in that week?
I know. Go ahead. Tell everybody.
We have anybody that didn't finish
their testing
because they went, I have time to do it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, it has to do this. And we have a fire drill. And
students have
the Samanami went out. Anyway, we have to finish that. There is all the kids will be performing at various times on Thursday.
Oh, the winter performance.
For the winter performance.
Concert.
The cool thing is that the music teacher is entirely in charge of this, so I had to do nothing.
Oh, I know. And he's fantastic.
And then some teachers, bless their hearts, decided we also want our children to sing, so they're also doing various class things. I'm not. I'm sorry.
I was about to say, I was guilted by the children that I'm not doing it. I am so happy to hear that you didn't get cave either. It's not my thing. Like, I don't think, okay, it's not that I don't want the children to go up and sing and have fun. But our music teacher is so much better at it.
Why would you want me to do it?
That our performance would just look sad in comparison. I wouldn't know how to teach it. It wouldn't be effective. I know I would probably just get cranky and bark at the children. So we have the winter concert. We have to finish testing. The children are going to be bonkers. Some families leave early. So that's assuming we even have everybody.
Some kids know, and some kids will just like show up and go, I have to go away now. And you're
like today's my last day.
Today's your last day. I'm so sorry. Do a test.
Welcome to standardized testing. Have a seat.
Oh my goodness.
Also, is there anything else wacky happening? It's a full week too. Because my fifth graders keep thinking, granted, I understand why. Because in prior years, sometimes we ended on a Wednesday or a Thursday, but it's a full week through Friday.
Yeah, it is. The 20th. I really think we should not be legally obligated to teach in December when there is a 2 in the 10s place. There should be no 2 or 3 in the 10s place. Such a
third grade teacher. When there's a 2 in the 10s place, we don't teach.
Yes. And I also, which always brings this up for me in my head, the Frosty the Snowman animated special, which I believe has been around almost in my entire life, like the year I was born even. I don't know. So long ago.
Oh, you mean the cartoon? Or
the cartoon.
Or the...
no, the cartoon.
Okay, not the, what am I trying to think? Claymation.
Not the claymation, okay, the actual animated one. Those kids are at school on Christmas Eve.
What? Is that like part of the song or the thing?
No,
that poor teacher had to show up.
Isn't that crazy? How did she get her shopping done?
Can I quickly say my little hack if you have to do either a hot cocoa party or a apple cider party?
Sure.
Okay. So I only thought of this because we recently had another class had a hot cocoa party and the poor teacher was sitting there mixing those individual packets and hot water. No, you buy the gallon of chocolate milk and you get a crock pot. And in the morning, you dump the gallon of chocolate milk into the or 2 gallon or whatever your crock pot holds. And you plug it in. You can look it up online. It'll say how long it needs to be, whatever. And then you get a ladle and you scoop it out. You don't have to mix anything. You don't have to bother. And if you have students who can't have dairy, you have another crock pot and it has the almond or soy milk, hot chocolate. Then you have the marshmallows for kids who want marshmallows. And then since most marshmallows have gelatin and there's certain students who cannot have like gelatin or pork products or whatever, you can have a can of whipped cream and you are good to go and you're not mixing anything. And then when it's done, you just rinse out the crock pot. And then I do the same thing if instead of hot chocolate, it's apple cider. You can just buy gigantic thing. You can buy apple cider by the gallon or like whatever, but you can also just buy apple juice and throw in some cinnamon sticks or like the little mulling spices or whatever they have now.
Actually, just a cinnamon stick, they would think it was special.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it looks very fancy with a cinnamon stick or like an orange slice that you push some cloves into or whatever. Again, crock pot, dump it all in and then ladle it out and you're good to go. And you're not mixing anything and it costs hardly anything to do it that way too, by the way.
And you don't have to really go all out for the parties and stuff.
The kids
they don't care as long to them if they're doing something they like or want, they're good. Someone will show up with something to eat, or give them all a candy cane and you can let them eat in the classroom. If you're like me and don't let them eat in the classroom, that's exciting enough.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so which one of us is bringing the crock pot? Who's gonna go get the chocolate?
I think we're just going craft around and I will be breaking out the glitter and I'll have a glitter station.
You have to text me when you do that so I stay far, far away. My glitter
I'm gonna
phobia.
Send a child with an errand pass
you
and have
better
them
not
sprinkle glitter on your doorway.
Dare you? How dare you? Never goes away.
And her son likes to use it.
Oh, I know. So my son had Stephanie as a teacher, and my child is so glitter starved.
Yeah.
That anytime Stephanie busts out glitter.
I let this year's teacher know that. So that.
Oh. All right. So we got one more week, and I think we can do it.
I hope so. It's just containing their excitement. That's
I know. I always hated that, especially schools. Like I worked at religious, like private schools where it's like you count down to Christmas and all that kind of stuff. But I always hated that feeling of, you're getting the kids excited, like, oh, it's this many more days or this, whatever, but behave. Right?
Yeah.
A kid doesn't understand that. Like you can't contain their excitement today because they have to finish map testing or whatever, right? And so I feel bad for them.
So don't if you are not in the holiday mood or whatever, it's okay. Mm-hmm. But you should have a little fun. I suggest Craft-O-Rama is the perfect party. Give construction paper, scissors, and glue. And if you're brave, a little glitter station.
Look, we're done. We planned our party. All right. Well, here's to hoping we make it. One more week. Good for us.
Yeah.
Yay. All right. Thank you so much for your kind attention today. Until next time, teachers. Bye for now.
Goodbye.